everyone, and welcome again to Leaders Uncut. And today it's my great pleasure to have with us Drew Kossov, who is the CEO of Rainmaker Adventures Inc. Hello, Drew. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me and happy to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. I love how you present your company. You make it rain and then you ease the pain. Oh my God, there's so much pain to be eased, right?
Yep, that's essentially the two things that clients over the years have uh, talked about that they appreciate about our business is obviously we're in the business of driving sales and growth for our clients, but we also make their lives easier. And that was a common theme. We kept saying, "Oh, you just take it off my plate. You do the, you're done for you. Kind of, we make you make my job easier. You just get results, and I don't have to worry about micromanaging you." And so we've over the years realized that that's part of our role is not only to get results, but also to make our clients' lives easier.
Isn't that the best thing when you hear something like this? Oh my God, thank God you're here. Thank God I don't have to deal with this myself, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we'd love you to give us a background on who you are, where you come from, what is your specialty at Rainmaker Adventures. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I am a New York City kid who grew up in New York and slowly made my way to California via. I went to college at Cornell in upstate New York. Then I went to grad school and I studied advertising and in college. That's where I got interested in advertising. Then I went to grad school for direct marketing. There was a very unique program at Northwestern for direct response marketing in the early days. When the internet was just starting, and I spent a summer working for. I did a professional residency at a company called Prodigy, which was the one of the first online services. It was like AOL, Prodigy, and CompuServe,
Yeah.
and so I was involved in advertising from literally early days when there was 2,400 baud modems, and
Yeah.
the ads were just little blocks of color with words on them, like 1-800-Flowers, like.
Right.
There was no video, there was no animation, and then I've evolved over the years. Got into the advertising side of the world in the late '90s, dating myself, and then got into the media buying side and and one of the early advertisers on Google. Over the years, have evolved from buying search traffic to display traffic to social traffic to email traffic to podcast traffic, native traffic. If you don't keep pivoting and adapting, you're gonna be disrupted. And TikTok didn't exist, 5 years ago, and now it's one of the biggest sources of traffic for a lot of people. So you just got to keep evolving and staying on trend and continue to reinvent yourself.
That is so true, especially nowadays, where with the emergence of all these new technologies, you have to be very agile. You have to first of all understand them too, right, and then have the right experts around you to guide you in what's the best solutions to use, because there's a plethora of options out there, which is a challenge.
Yeah, and I really believe in this Jack Welch philosophy of if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. And a lot of times when you're early to a channel or early to a market or you have some, early success and you build some expertise or competitive advantages, you can win for a long time. But eventually, or often, some of the, as the competition comes in, as more people find out about it, as other people build expertise, your advantages sometimes, diminish. And so you got to keep finding that next new thing, that next leg up, that next better way of doing things. And you can't just sit still. What work, especially with digital and advertising, it's like what worked last year may not be working this year, and what's working this year may not work next year. You really got to be nimble. And
that is true, but you also have to have the understanding of that. I mean, you have 250 million plus experience in media buying, right? So I would imagine with that, you first of all are curious enough to learn about what's happening everywhere, and then adjust your strategies to the times, because that is critical. This is why it's so hard when you are a business owner and you have to figure this out yourself. Very often you have to do it by mistakes, and you try things that are going to be costly. You're not going to see the right return on your investment, and then you're going to get frustrated. So that's why having experts like you to do it right. And I know you have lots of ways to do it right, but if you can address some of that and explain what's your process when people start working with you.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I believe in kind of this, I call it the 90-10 rule, where it's like you
Mm,
spend 90% of your budget, advertising budget on things that are working, that are scalable, like doubling down on what you know it works, but always reserve about 10% to try new things
mm,
because you have to keep learning. And one of the benefits as an agency that we get is working with multiple clients is as we we're very, ethical and we're never going to, share any results from one client to another. But because we're buying media across many clients, when we, if one client gives us some budget to test something new and it works, well, then we're like, oh, we can do similar things for other clients. And so we, in some ways learn on their dime, but they also benefit on, from the brain trust of of all the stuff that we're doing across many clients and many verticals, many industries. We kind of learn faster and adapt. And so we're really big into like alternative ad strategies. Yes,
mm.
Google and Facebook are half of the traffic on the internet, and they're awesome, but they're also walled gardens, and you don't have a lot of control over the algorithm or what or changes or competition. And there's other platforms where you can have a lot of success that where there's underpriced attention.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to find places that that can perform well, and maybe they don't have as much scale as Google or Facebook,
Yeah.
but they're very interesting. And then build sort of a portfolio of traffic sources. So too many people over rely on the big two,
Yeah.
and then something happens or changes, and 1 minute they're spending 500 grand a month on advertising, and the next minute they're spending zero.
And
And
yeah.
we want to help people avoid that. So
And I've seen that so often. And then so often campaigns that were not successful and people give up right away. And those algorithms that change over time, that's really hard also to stay on top of that. It's right, it's a challenge. So how do you do that? I know you have a network of people that you've been working with for a long, long time, right? So what's the best what's your approach when you have to deal with so many variables like that?
yeah, I mean, so my preference is I believe in long-term relationships and partnerships, and I like working with companies where I can have a one-to-one relationship with them, or we, as my team can, versus just if this is a self-serve platform that anybody can open up an account, anybody can log in, and you can't talk to anyone over there, unless you're spending billions of dollars. It's hard to have a competitive advantage. And if
Yeah.
you're on a level playing field, it's hard. But if you've got a relationship, if you're one of the top spenders on a network, maybe it's a mid-tier network, it's not a top one, I can call the managing director, I can call the CEO, I can have a meeting. We're in on the beta, every beta opportunity, every new
Yeah.
thing that they launch, they let us test first. Like those kind of relationships are how you win, and often they can pull levers behind the scenes that you couldn't pull on the self-serve platform. So having a relationship where you're collaborating works well, and we're a preferred agency for a lot of networks that really I feel like gives us a bit of an advantage, and I'm always seeking advantages. So
Hey,
that's one way I approach things.
and that's so important that I see that as one of the biggest advantages. Of course, you have to have great creative capabilities. That's important. But those relationships, from experience, they are critical and they take years to establish. So it's very hard for everyone to say, hey, I have those relationships. No, it's just a few people who actually do. And that's something that as a marketer, as a chief marketing officer, I would leverage right away. It's so important.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. We do a lot of email advertising as well. So that's dealing with individual publishers of newsletters. We're
Yeah.
buying ads. We have relationships with hundreds of newsletter publishers. And, could anybody go out and, reach out to those newsletters and buy media from them? Sure. But because we're buying so much across many
Yes.
clients, we
Yeah.
get leverage, that we're a good, and it's like sort of a one-to-many kind of thing, both for our clients and for the publishers. The publishers like working with us because we bring a dozen advertisers to them. They don't have to sell 12 different advertisers. They just deal with us, and we bring a bunch of different clients their way. So that's
Yeah.
easier for them to have one relationship with us.
Yeah.
Similarly, our clients, they could go out and deal with 40 publishers, but then they're going to have 40 invoices, 40 emails to traffic, 40, and if they just deal with us, we do all the busy work. So in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, that's again about relationships. On the flip side, though, creative is, 60% of
Right.
whether a campaign works. So
I
creative is
know.
very important. And I feel like we used to have a more of an advantage because we would pump out thousands of creatives, a day, banners and copy and stuff for our clients. But now with the advent of AI, it's getting easier for people to
Yeah.
create content. It's easier for us too. But that game is shifting, and so you got to find other advantages, because it's not, if people don't need. Used to be people like didn't know how to make creatives and they needed our help.
Yeah, but I'm going to add something to that though, Drew, because I see that too often. Oh yeah, my junior hire can do any creative. I'm like, maybe, but I have seen already horror stories of people thinking they can do any creative, but very often the look and feel is not consistent, the messaging is not relevant, the overall quality is mediocre. And nowadays, you cannot afford to be mediocre. You have to be excellent at what you do and how you present yourself, because of the amount of posts that people see. If you just look like everybody else and you don't have that edge, because AI is just going to do what you tell them to do. It's not going to come up for with all that you need. You still have to have a strategy, you have to have a style guide, you have to have communication points with the right value proposition. All of those tools and things have to be done right.
Agreed. There has to be a leader who's pushing the buttons or doing the prompts or driving things. But I think you have to know how to use the tools, and so we're just becoming more efficient and better at creating creatives. We're still strong at it. We just it's not as much of an advantage because other people have the tools as well. So, but the people who use them well are still going to win.
Yeah, I know. It's like anything else. So I think I can see several steps in the evolution of advertising and what people do with their marketing, where they're going to try it out themselves. They're going to see it's not working, and they're going to go back to agencies. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's interesting. I find because we buy a lot of traffic across multiple channels for multiple kinds of clients. We'll often see something that's working that other people wouldn't have thought to try, and we'll take something that's working on a different, on a native platform and bring it to Facebook, and like nobody's running ads like that, but we've actually recently found something that's working really well, and it's like it's an atypical creative approach that we borrowed from a different platform. That was
true. That's a huge advantage. So tell me, you're working in a lot of different verticals, ranging from health, nutrition, financial services, golf, dating, many others. I mean, are those the verticals that you prefer, or can you work on any type of industries?
We could work on any, but again, if we're going into a completely new vertical, it's going to take us a little time to figure it out and learn it. And we have great competitive intelligence tools. We can go out and see what ads are working and who's advertising in those spaces and what's working, and kind of get a head start. But still, we're going to learn in a little bit of a learning mode in the beginning. Where if we go into verticals we already know, it's much easier to day one know exactly where to take them, what to do, what to say. So we focus on health and wealth kind of offers. Is loosely how we call it, and that's the health side could be anything from supplements and nutrition products to information products, and everywhere in between. Free reports on your health, weight loss products. On the financial side, it could be everything from investing in stocks to investing in gold to investing in annuities. Some of the stuff to buying courses or books or information on investing. So we do a lot of sort of wealth focused offers, because ultimately the audiences are pretty similar. It's basically like wealthy older Americans who have money and care about their health and care about their finances, and are trying to find ways to protect their retirement or grow their their net worth, or live longer, and healthier. So.
That's a big trend. So do you prefer to work with startups, small companies, larger corporations? What is your preference?
We feel that our best, we work with, different kinds of clients. We don't typically work with startups who haven't figured things out yet. But we also don't work with like companies that are too huge, and too big. We kind of like what we call mid-market, sort of, $10 to $100 million, kind of size companies. We have clients that do over $1 billion in revenue, but the bigger clients get, and the more, the bigger their teams get, the less they need. They still need, value us, but they don't need us as much because they got, a 20-person marketing team and three other agencies, and we just get a slice of the pie. We find that the smaller companies who have a smaller team really need us and value us, and we're instrumental to their growth, and so that seems to be like a sweet spot.
Yeah.
That because we want to be appreciated and valued, not just be a,
Yeah,
one.
I know. I understand that. I understand that. Well, what you do is great, and I really encourage companies to speak with you if they need to do to have advertising, digital advertising that is providing results. Right, that's what we want, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I forgot to mention that we do a lot of lead generation in addition
Okay.
to selling products. So we recently got into some legal lead gen, like creating leads for lawyers.
Okay.
That's kind of a new vertical for us, pretty interesting. So we also like kind of high ticket lead gen. Advertising is, more challenging than ever, and the margins are tighter. So, with things that are higher ticket, it seems to be like a little bit more room to make things work.
Okay.
We kind of like those things, but we can also send people directly to a product page and order something from a shopping cart
Yeah.
as well. We do
Yeah.
all the.
Yeah. So Drew, I always love to ask my guests about personal experiences because it's great. We know what you're doing now with your business, but if you had something to share with my audience that you have learned along the way in your life that has been very powerful and that has somehow changed the directions of your life, or maybe inspired you to start a business, or something that triggered a change in your life, a lesson you've learned, what would that be? What would you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things come to mind. One is I'll tell you a story. I had an experience. Now it's probably 10 plus years ago, but I had a little health scare, and I ended up in the hospital for 10 days, and I wasn't on my deathbed, but I felt like I I was, and I was considering my whole life and what really matters, and what if I died today? Did my life make a difference?
Yeah.
And the conclusion I came up to is like, no, listen, I made money, but I don't really feel like I made a difference. And I was like, moving forward, I want to make money and make a difference. And so from that day forward, I started making conscious capitalism a part of the way we approach business, where, it's people, profits, planet. And I'm making sure I'm making a difference in the lives of the people that work for me, that are partners of ours, that are our clients. I'm making a difference on the planet. We donate a percentage of our profits to meaningful charities every single month, and I'm making a great living, for myself and for the people that we touch and do business with in some way, whether it's a vendor, a partner, a client, or my team. And so that's, that was impacted by that health scare. The other thing that I have, kind of try to live by is what I call the go-giver mentality instead of the go-getter.
I love that. I love that.
It's not about taking, it's about giving.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I found that, I think Zig Ziglar said that, if you, it was one of his famous quotes was, if you just help enough other people get what they want, you'll have everything you want.
I
And
love it.
you'll never have to worry about what you want. So,
Yeah.
I don't and it's not a strategy where it's like, it's transactional and I'm giving to get. I just believe that it's almost like a karma thing, where if you just create value in the world, if you give of yourself and don't expect anything in return,
See.
some people might not return it, and that's fine. And
Yeah.
some people return in droves, but ultimately, if you give to 10 people, one may screw you, two may not give back, and seven are going to be loyal friends and you'll have a great relationship with. And that's the way to win in life, is to give, and not expect, but with the understanding that the more you give and the more value you create, the more that they're
It's beautiful. And I think that something people need to remember that. You are so right. Give, don't expect. Because when you don't expect, you're going to be surprised. I can tell you, I've had many times it's happened to me where I'm doing a lot of things. I give. And sometimes I'm thinking, why am I doing this? But it's stronger than me. I've always been like this anyway. But very often, things came my way that I had no idea would be the case. I mean, the best possible thing ever that, very often came my way, and I just was dumbfounded. But you're right. You have to have that mindset. I'm here to give. I'm here to help. Don't expect anything, and then you'll be surprised. You're always positively surprised when you don't expect things anyway.
Yeah, and I think you also need to look at the timeline of that as well, that it's not like you may give in the present, and the gift or the return or the karma that comes back to you, it may not be direct. That person may never do business with you, but maybe they tell a friend about you, and that friend that introduction may happen 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now. But because you were good to them, and and they remember that you were a good person, somehow it comes back to you at some point. And like I said, even if it doesn't, that's okay. But like,
it's okay.
Like that, you're just building almost like a snowball of goodwill.
Yeah.
And the more that you build that, the more that comes back to you over time.
Yeah, it does. And be kind, even if a client says, I don't want to use your services anymore, right? Always keeps doors open. There's never reason to be mad at someone. Be courteous, be polite, thank them, but leave the doors open, because you never know. You never know what life can bring you.
I agree. You never want to burn bridges. You always, I always say to people, I don't want to profit from your losses. I'd rather just I'd rather think long term. Say I want a long-term relationship than like, no, I need to profit month number one, even though you lost money, and this is terrible for you. Like, no, if it's really bad situation, like I want to make things right, with this best we can. And I definitely think that way. It's just the long-term consequences of being transactional. Like I don't want to do business with people that will only give if they, they'll only do something for me if I'm going to give them something in return. It's like, you know what? Let's just establish a relationship and let's both win together. It's not like all about you.
I agree with you, and that's the same. And you just said something very important. I see too many marketers and they drive me nuts. They try to sell you something right away. They don't even know you. I mean, I always say you cannot ask someone to marry you the next day you met them. It doesn't work. You have to build a relationship. Take the time to do that.
You're 100% right. I find, I'm sure you see this on LinkedIn, but like the number of people that reach out and they're like they want to sleep with you on the first date.
That's right.
They don't want to get to know you. They want to go and take you out for coffee. They don't want to get to, it's like literally like, and a lot of times they're not even relevant. Like I get things from people that are like, like I can help you with your UX design and building apps and stuff. And I'm like, have you looked at my business? Like I don't build apps. I don't do any of that stuff. And they're like, are you available on Tuesday for a call? I'm like I'm not going to schedule a call with you. It's like, well, maybe send me some information. Like, hey, we do this cool work and it could help, agencies be successful by adding another service to their repertoire. Like if you did some homework and it was relevant to me, and then you said, if you're interested, now that I've given you a bunch of value, maybe schedule a call. I have no problem with that. But just like that, asking for a call, with a date, with a calendar link tomorrow from something out of the blue, from something you don't know, is just, it drives me nuts too.
Well, they want to see immediate results. They think it's going to work, but 99% of the time it does not work. You have to take the time to get to know people. And I think it's becoming more and more true.
I think that's another thing too, is like do your homework. Like I like to do some research and prepare and do some homework before I talk to someone, because then I understand what they're, and then ask questions. A lot of it's about asking questions, not telling.
Yes, you're so true. That's so right. That's so important. Ask questions. You're right. Yeah.
There was a great book about sales that I'm trying to remember the name of. It's called, oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Spin Selling.
Okay.
Spin Selling from a guy named Neil Rackham, and it was from, many years ago. It was a bestseller, I think, and probably 20 years ago. But his whole thing was about asking questions, and he basically said, like, if you go in with a canned pitch and sell the same thing to everybody, that's not, it's like everybody needs different things, and in fact, the best salespeople. SPIN is an acronym. It stands for situation, problem, implication, need, payoff. And what he says is that novice salespeople ask spin questions. Where are you located? How many envelopes do you buy a month? Whatever. Stuff that you could probably find out on your own.
Yeah.
The problem questions are where it starts getting more interesting. Like, tell me about your problems. What are the challenges you're facing? The implication questions are the next level, where it's like, okay, now I understand your problems. What's the implication if you don't fix it? If your competitor, solves a problem and you don't, how's that going to impact your business? And people, if you ask these questions, people start selling themselves. They're like, oh my God, I've got this problem. If I don't solve it, it's going to really be a problem. And if my competitor gets there, and then they're like, well, so what would be the payoff if we helped solve that problem? Yeah. Oh my God, it would change. We'd beat the competition. We'd be more profitable. Then it's like, great. Would you like to do a free trial? It's like, you don't have to sell them. You don't have to pitch them. You just ask great questions.
You're right. That is so critical. But see, it takes time though. You have to be willing to take the time and not expect immediate results. because it's like any relationships, it's an investment. It takes time, and you have to nurture people, and the goal is to build trust.
Yeah, and I love to talk. I'm sure you can tell.
Yes.
So it's hard for me to ask questions and not talk. But
Yeah.
it's a great strategy, and I
Yeah.
think, yeah, you just have to. If you have the right questions, you don't like people have this like this thought about like salespeople or slimy car salesmen. Like selling is really about solving problems, and and if you go in with again no expectations, no hard sell. I'm here to understand you. I'm here to ask some questions, and then hey, if we've got some some solutions, I'd be happy to show them to you. And if they're a fit, great. We'd love to work with you. And if not, no problem. We can talk. Come back in 6 months, a year. Tell your friends about us. Like, if you don't do business, that's cool too.
And there you go. See, that's the smart way to do it. If you're not, it's okay. I'm here whenever you need you. When you do that, then the whole energy changes.
Yeah. Yeah. People feel when you're desperate. They feel when when you want something, and I mean, listen, some people might argue like if you've got a solution and it's going to work for them, then it behooves you to to push real hard and try to close them and get them to buy your product because it's going to benefit them. That's one philosophy. For me, I don't like to be aggressive. I don't think people like to be sold. I think people like to buy and make their own decisions. So if you just provide enough value, again, I was saying like create enough value that they're probably going to make a choice to want to do business with you. Great, but if you can't provide that value, then you don't deserve their business anyway. Or if they don't see the value, then it's on their timeline, it's their budget, it's their money, they're in charge. So I can't force you to do it.
So wise, so true. I mean, this is great advice, great parting words. I think it's something to remember that when you have that approach and it's an investment, that you take the time, that you're curious enough and genuinely interested in others. That too, because people see the BS. Right?
It's true. I mean, and that's such a great point that ties in well to what I said earlier. I mean, it's about being authentic and genuine, not transactional. Mm-hmm. Yeah. People can see if all you care, if you just want something, that's not a genuine relationship. If you really want, to build a relationship, like I was saying earlier, I like relationships. I like long, and I think long term. I'd love to, do business with you for the next 20 years. I'm not thinking about this month's sale, and I don't even care if I make $0 this month. If I help you and you help me over the next 10 years, like it's going to go up and down. There's going to be different things, but like I want it to be a relationship.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, that's very important. That was great. Great advice. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Really appreciate your time here. Anything else that you would like to add before we end this great conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about your audience or who's listening or watching, but if there's anyone who needs help, growing their businesses, their leads, their sales with digital advertising, I'd be happy to again have a conversation, no pressure, see what challenges you're having and whether you need help with display or native or social or email. There's lots of opportunities and like I said, underpriced attention and ways to scale beyond just Google and Facebook, as well as Google and Facebook, and I'd be happy to explore that with anyone who's interested.
Wonderful. So if people are interested in speaking with you, which I'm sure some will, what is the best way to get hold of you, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, just you can either go to rainmakeradventures.com, our website, or email me at drew@rainmakeradventures. Sort of like advertising ventures is the play, but it's spelled like adventures with a S at the end.
I love it. Yeah, very creative.
Yeah, and yeah, that would be
sounds good. Perfect. Thank you so much. So everyone, please get hold of Drew. Even if it's a conversation, ask questions. You may have something you think you're doing or you're not sure. I think it's always great to pass it by an expert. And I think Drew is the one to really help you out, figure out where to advertise in 2025.
Yeah, we can help you make it rain and ease the pain, right?
Sounds great. Thank you again, Drew. Thank you so much for your time today. Wonderful. Appreciate you. And everyone, thank you for watching. Please share this message on your networks. I'm trying to expand my reach and I need help doing that. So I'm sure you have plenty of followers. So share this information with your followers. Some of them may need to buy ads in, may need to speak with an expert. Drew is the one to speak with here. So do that. It will help a lot of people, I'm sure. And again, thank you for watching. Do remember to subscribe to the channel. It would be wonderful. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, Catherine.